In the final mock exam before the college entrance exam, I once again ranked first in the school. My homeroom teacher, beaming with satisfaction, praised me as top-tier material for Tsinghua and Peking University. At the same time, I saw the comment barrage: no matter how hard the supporting female lead tries, it's futile. When the female lead uses her cheat skill to swap scores, she'll see what a real dimensionality reduction is. After exchanging the scores, remember to swap identities too. The true heiress's group favorite script is the protagonist's destiny. I suggest the supporting female lead learn how to ride an e-scooter ASAP. She'll need it whether she ends up delivering takeout or parcels, waiting for the protagonist to pull off a triple kill, steal the scores, swap identities, and snatch the male lead. A capable and cunning female lead like this is rare. All you satisfying story lovers, don't miss it. So it turns out that the daughter of our family's nanny has bound herself to an exchange system, and her target is me. But each exchange costs 10 years of your life. Heroine, think twice. What's there to fear? The heroine is only 18. Even if she makes the exchange 3 times, based on average life expectancy, she'd still have a good 30 or 40 years to live fabulously. Exactly. Trading 30 years for being a wealthy heiress plus top scorer in the college entrance exam plus a tycoon's doting love. Totally worth it. So it turns out that every time she exchanges, she is burning her own life. Then, let her exchange as much as she wants. When the results of the 4th mock exam were announced, I ranked first in the school with a score of 728. Lin Xiaoman was 82nd in the grade. She clutched the exam paper, her eyes reddening. Wan Qing, you're first again. I really envy you for having so many tutors. For someone ordinary like me, no matter how hard I try, I just can't catch up. The next second, a few glaring lines of Danmaku flashed before my eyes. 728 points. Hilarious. Isn't that just a score bought with money? If our female lead had gone to private school since childhood and had top-tier tutors from Tsinghua and Peking University, she'd be 10 blocks ahead of this side character. There's no way the side character would still be stealing first place from her. Exactly. The female lead comes from a poor family yet still made it into the top 100. Way better than those fake straight-A students who rely on resources, waiting for the system to activate. Let the female lead swap scores with the supporting female lead, then let's see if she can still act so high and mighty. I almost laughed in disbelief. For 3 years in high school, I was always number 1. I earned it through endless late-night practice, a half-meter-high pile of error notebooks, and countless times when I pinched my own thigh to stay awake. And as for the so-called resources, didn't Lin Xiaoman use them too, using my VIP tutoring class and the top-tier teachers my father brought in from the capital? And you still can't even get close to 600 points. Every time we go over problems, the teacher only has to give me a hint and I get it, while she's still lost even after 3 explanations. Me, stealing her first place. I look up, smile slightly at Lin Xiaoman, and say, the college entrance exam hasn't happened yet. Who knows, maybe you'll end up being the top scorer. Ugh, who is this female supporting character acting so passive-aggressive? 4. Is 728 points really that impressive? It's about to belong to the female lead soon. Quick, where's the system, and the golden finger? Hurry up and slap her face. I can't wait any longer. Just then, Lin Xiaoman's entire body stiffened, and a burst of ecstasy flashed in her eyes. A cold mechanical voice suddenly rang out. Exchange system activated. Host Lin Xiaoman, please designate your exchange target. Without any hesitation, she looked at me, a secretive smile curling at the corner of her mouth. I choose Jiang Wanqing. Oh, a swap system. Judging by the barrage of comments, is it trying to take away my college entrance exam scores? How utterly interesting. After all, I've already been admitted through early admission. The moment the class bell rang, I walked up to the podium, greeted by the astonished gazes of the entire class. Teacher, there's something I need to announce to everyone. My voice was calm, yet loud enough to silence the entire classroom. In last week's national physics competition, I won the gold medal and have already secured a recommended admission to the School of Aerospace Engineering at University A. The homeroom teacher froze for a moment, then jumped to his feet in excitement and slammed the desk. Really, although University A isn't as prestigious as Qingbei, it's still the top university in our province. I smiled slightly. Yeah, I didn't want to go too far from home, and also, I paused, my gaze sweeping over the varied expressions of the classmates below, finally landing on Lin Xiaoman's suddenly stiff face. A university's aerospace program is the strongest in the country. The classroom instantly erupted. Holy crap, direct admission, Jiang Wanqing is just too awesome. Aerospace engineering at University A has produced quite a few top-tier talents who joined the National Space Administration right after graduation. It's a pity, though. Our school has lost a potential Tsinghua or Peking University candidate. Even a top-scorer prospect. Amidst all this exclamation, the barrage of comments before my eyes began flooding the screen wildly. What? The female supporting character isn't taking the college entrance exam, then what about our female lead? Damn, rich people really know how to exploit the system. What's so great about being recommended for admission? If you've got the guts, take the exam fair and square. Don't panic. The female supporting character can't stand being provoked or looked down upon. Just wait. The first wave of the highlight confrontation between the female lead and the female supporting character is about to happen. Sure enough, the next second, Lin Xiaoman suddenly stood up. Wanqing, are you really not going to take the college entrance exam? She bit her lip, hesitating as if she had something to say but couldn't. But everyone says, true top students wouldn't stoop to taking shortcuts, right? Lin Xiaoman's fingers clenched tightly around the physics test paper with a score of 78, her knuckles turning white, her eyes reddened on the verge of tears, yet her voice rose deliberately by an octave. Wanqing, are you really going to back out at the last moment? We've studied hard for 12 years, isn't it, to compete head-to-head in the college entrance exam? A few students in the back rows began whispering among themselves. Lin Xiaoman does have a point. What Jiang Wanqing did was really unfair. Isn't she just messing with everyone's mindset? Exactly, getting early admission doesn't make her a hero. Seeing this, Lin Xiaoman immediately pressed her advantage. Or perhaps, you're afraid. She suddenly had an epiphany. Right, after all, mock exams aren't the real college entrance exam. It wouldn't be impossible for some people to get the test questions in advance through family connections. The homeroom teacher slammed the desk in anger. Lin Xiaoman, do you know that spreading rumors carries legal liability? The barrage, however, went wild with excitement. Ah, the heroine is such a pro. This reverse psychology move is flawless. LMAO, a recommended student afraid to take the college entrance exam. How embarrassing. If the rivals got real talent, she should take up the challenge, agree to take the exam. Otherwise, how's the heroine supposed to use her golden finger? My gaze slowly swept across the classroom. The study monitor, who had once borrowed my notes, was now avoiding my eyes. A few guys in the back row wore expressions of eager anticipation, and even the homeroom teacher stood at the podium, hesitating to speak. Seeing this, Lin Xiaoman's voice grew even sweeter. Wanqing, I believe you've already realized your mistake. It's okay. After all, preparing for the competition while also getting ready for the college entrance exam is truly hard work. I suddenly smiled and stood up slowly. Lin Xiaoman, do you know what you look like right now? Her expression froze. Like a giant baby rolling on the floor of a supermarket, demanding that someone buy you candy. I was doing practice problems at 3 a.m. while you were sleeping. I was training for competitions while you were faking sick notes. Now that I've traded my gold medal for a direct admission, you have the nerve to guilt-trip me here. If you're so capable, go win a gold medal yourself. The air in the classroom seemed to freeze, as if finally registering what was said. Everyone furrowed their brows and looked at Lin Xiaoman. A few classmates who were close to me huddled together and whispered, what does Lin Xiaoman mean? How is being recommended for admission a shortcut? Exactly, getting recommended for admission is a testament to her ability. Lin Xiaoman was crying and making a scene, and the moment she opened her mouth, she was slandering others. How ridiculous. The barrage immediately erupted into chaos. Oh no, what do we do? It seems taunting the female lead doesn't work on her. This female supporting character isn't following the script. On the way home from school, Lin Xiaoman followed close behind me, her voice as syrupy as ever. Wanqing, have you really made up your mind? A university is good, but the college entrance exam is a major life event after all. I walked on without looking back, too lazy to respond. What if you regret it later? She quickened her pace to walk beside me, her eyes flickering. I paused, turned to look at her, and smirked. What? You want me to take the college entrance exam? Her expression froze for a moment, then she put on a pitiful look. I'm just worried about you. Oh, I responded coldly and turned to leave. In the following days, Lin Xiaoman repeatedly confirmed with me whether I was really recommended for admission to University A and wouldn't be taking the college entrance exam, and I completely gave up. No more practice tests, no more studying. Every day I was either playing games or binge-watching shows. Finally, after I directly applied to the homeroom teacher for home study and stopped going to school. Altogether, Lin Xiaoman seemed to have made up her mind. Sigh, the female lead, why doesn't she persuade anymore? If it really comes down to it, just tie the female supporting character to the exam hall. I don't believe she won't take the test. The person above still doesn't get it, do they? If the college entrance exam scores are swapped, even if the female supporting character gets a 0, she still has University A to go to. The female lead is such a power player, going straight for the kill by making the rival lose both her college entrance exam scores and her recommendation for admission. In the end, she had no school to attend, was abandoned by her parents, fell into depression, and committed suicide. Although this subplot is satisfying, I'd rather see the female lead become the top scorer in the college entrance exam and reunite with her wealthy biological parents. I stared at the bullet comments in shock. So there's also a switched at birth storyline, who knows where. The female supporting character got the recommendation for guaranteed admission. The female lead is having such a hard time. We must make the female supporting character's parents completely disappointed in her. The female lead can only be recognized as the one and only true heiress after switching identities. Last cycle was so disgusting, even after the female supporting character was proven to be a fake heiress. The Jiang family still called them twins to the public and doted on her. Just the same, my fingers dig deep into my palms, a cold fury churning in my chest. What Lin Xiaoman wanted was never just about the grades, but my entire life. Sure enough, with the spoilers from the bullet screen comments, Lin Xiaoman firmly told the system that she wanted to swap for my guaranteed admission to a university. The next second, a cold, mechanical voice exploded in the air. Ding. Host command detected. Exchange target. Jiang Wanqing's guaranteed admission to University A. Exchange successful. Cost, 10 years of the host's lifespan. Lin Xiaoman's eyes snapped open. What? 10 years of my life? Why didn't you say so earlier? This time, the system's mechanical voice carried an unexpected hint of emotion. Everything in the universe follows the conservation of energy. Making a wish naturally comes with a price. Did you think we were a charity? Lin Xiaoman instantly exploded, stomping and screaming like a tantrum-throwing child. I don't care, this is fraud. I want to file a complaint. System, okay, canceling the exchange, unbinding system. Lin Xiaoman panicked. No, 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 I was wrong. I'll make the exchange. I'll do it. Alright. Holy crap, this system is way too messed up. What's there to be afraid of? The female lead is only 18, even if she swaps 3 times, based on average life expectancy, she can still live it up for another 30 or 40 years. Exactly. Swapping 30 years for being a rich heiress plus top scorer in the college entrance exams plus a doting tycoon's love is a hell of a deal. Lin Xiaoman bit her fingernails, her eyes darting around, then suddenly broke into a smug grin. Come to think of it, it's really worth it. Worth it. I looked down at the chat log with the admissions office of University A from half an hour ago. Me, Professor, I've made up my mind. I'd like to change my guaranteed admission major from aerospace engineering to thermal and power engineering. Admissions office, are you sure? Student, this major is typically filled by students who were assigned through the adjustment process. Me, I'm sure. Admissions office, alright, it's been changed. The teacher across from me clearly had no words, and even gave me a look that seemed to hold back 1,000 things to say. Thermal energy and power engineering was a major that few people at University A were familiar with. The coursework was tedious, and career prospects were narrow. Teachers on campus even jokingly called it boiler stoking. And now, it belonged to Lin Xiaoman. Starting that day, Lin Xiaoman stopped going to school. Her mother was the maid in our house. Back then, my parents kindly took them in and let her stay in the guest room of the villa because they were living in difficult circumstances. Lin Xiaoman, on the contrary, had no sense of living on someone else's charity. She wandered around the villa all day, her eyes glued to me. In the afternoon, I leaned lazily on the sofa, drowsy and half asleep. Lin Xiaoman appeared behind me at some point and raised her voice in feigned surprise. Oh my god. Wanqing, you didn't stay up all night playing games, did you? She leaned in, squinting at the 0 to 10 score on my phone, her eyes curving into crescent moons. Oh dear, on a losing streak. I ignored Lin Xiaoman, but she wouldn't let it go. But that's true, anyway, since you've already been admitted through early admission, you can do whatever you want. She suddenly lowered her voice, as if she was worried about me. Sis, if you keep slacking off like this, don't let a university rescind your admission. Her tone rose at the end, carrying obvious gloating. I slowly sat up straight. Xiaoman, I looked at her and suddenly smiled. so concerned about me, why don't you go and show some concern for your own mother? I tilted my head, speaking in a light tone. Auntie Wong went to work her part-time shift at the barbecue place again last night. Looks like she didn't get back until 3 a.m. Just saving up to buy you that haute couture dress you wanted, so isn't this the classic case of no princess birth but all princess disease? Lin Xiaoman's expression twisted instantly. Fuck, that female side character is so vicious with her words. She's living a life of luxury herself. What gives her the right to mock our female lead? LMAO, serves that poor mom right, can't give her daughter a good life herself, and on top of that, she drags the female lead down, forcing her to live under someone else's roof. People like that at the bottom of the pile don't deserve to have kids. Exactly, if she hadn't shamelessly begged the Jiang family to take them in back then, would the female lead have had to suffer so much? Once the female lead becomes the real heiress, she should send her to jail for child trafficking, make it life imprisonment at best, so she won't drag the female lead down anymore. Lin Xiaoman dug her nails into her palm, then suddenly smiled again. You're right, sis, I'll go help mom now. As she turned around, I clearly heard her gritted whisper, if only she weren't so useless, I wouldn't have to. Just wait until I become the Jiang family's true heiress. The comments in the bullet screen were really vicious, but Lin Xiaoman actually agreed with them. The bullet screen didn't Lin Xiaoman know how desperately her mother had struggled to raise her? In that mountain village where sons were preferred over daughters, a girl's fate was already sealed from birth, dropping out of school at 15 or 16, getting married off for a bride price, and being sold like livestock into another family. But Auntie Wong managed to escape with her, no matter what, leaving with nothing, penniless, and even having one leg brutally broken by her alcoholic husband with an iron rod. I still remember the first time I saw them. Aunt Wong limped along, carrying a tattered woven bag on her back. Rainwater streamed down her hair, pooling in a small puddle at her feet, but Lin Xiaoman, standing beside her, was completely dry. Later, my mother couldn't bear to see her struggle, so she hired Aunt Wong as a housemaid, paying her well above the market rate and giving her red envelopes during holidays. That was more than enough to support the two of them, but Lin Xiaoman never seemed satisfied. She envies my clothes, my jewelry, even my pens, to satisfy her. Aunt Wong works at my place during the day, then washes dishes at a barbecue restaurant at night. When she comes back late, afraid of disturbing everyone, she sleeps in the tiny storage room next to the kitchen. No one works harder than her. When it comes to ingratitude, no one surpasses Lin Xiaoman. Perhaps deeply affected by my provocation, Lin Xiaoman stayed cooped up in her room all day without showing her face, and I finally confirmed that those floating barrage comments only appear when I am near Lin Xiaoman. They pass judgment from on high, believing they know everything, but I am not a mindless NPC who can guarantee that the plot cannot be changed. In the evening, the roar of an engine echoed from outside the villa, and a sports car came to a steady stop at the entrance. The car door opened, revealing Gu Shihan, the only son of the Gu family and my childhood fiancé, brother Gu. Lin Xiaoman trotted over, her eyes strikingly bright, her fingers instinctively reaching to tug at Gu Chen's sleeve. Gu Chen frowned, sidestepped to avoid her, didn't even spare her a glance, and walked straight up to me. Ah, the male lead is so handsome. I love this cold, domineering CEO. What gives her the right? Just because she has a rich dad? Female lead, don't be sad. Once your identities are swapped, young Master Gu will have eyes only for you. Wan Qing, it's a limited edition from the Paris workshop. Only 3 exist worldwide, and I specially reserved this one for you. Gu Shihan stopped in front of me, the ice blue diamond brooch glittering brilliantly in his hand. Lin Xiaoman stood off to the side, her fingers tightly twisting the hem of her clothes. Her voice was as faint as a mosquito's hum, yet just loud enough for everyone to hear. This gift, Sister Wan Qing might not really need it, right? She cast a seemingly casual glance toward the open walk-in closet behind me, where dozens of jewelry display cases stood arrayed. After all, Sister Wan Qing isn't like me. I don't even have a decent jewelry box. Gu Shihan finally shot her a glance, then frowned as he pulled out a cheap promotional bracelet from his pocket. Here, you can have it. He tossed it casually, as if giving alms to a beggar. Lin Xiaoman, however, cherished it like a treasure and immediately put it on her wrist. Thank you, Brother Gu. I will treasure it forever. The barrage reached its climax in an instant. Girls, take a screenshot. When the head of the Gu family goes crazy over the female lead later, slap him in the face with this aloof and indifferent emoji pack, comma. Chop off those adopted daughter of the Jiang family's fingers one by one, original quote, right back at him, comma. I'm shipping it, the current young Master Gu acts all high and mighty. But he'll be begging for her forgiveness in a grand, wife-chasing crematorium, arc later. Enough with the spoilers upstairs, but thinking about how young Master Gu will go dark for the heroine later, who boy, especially that scene where he has the female rival gang raped, absolutely legendary. My pupils contracted sharply, and my fingernails dug unconsciously into my palm. Gu Shihan was still rambling to himself. Oh, right, I heard you've been recommended for admission to a university. Perfect, I'm doing my master's there too, so I can take care of you later. He deliberately emphasized the word, take care of, his eyes carrying an unsettling sense of possessiveness. Once you graduate, we'll get married, a merger between the Gu and Jiang families, a win-win. How ridiculous, but the Gu family now could barely be considered second tier, not even measuring up to a single subsidiary of the Jiang family. Where did he get the confidence to think this was a win-win? I already know. The day of the college entrance exam is exactly my birthday. Gu Shihan suddenly leaned in close, the heavy scent of his cologne making my temples throb. It was because of this, wasn't it, that you gave up on the exam, just as you wished? I've sorted it out with my family. He lowered his voice, and the warmth of his breath nearly brushed against my face. That day, it'll be just the two of us. He rolled the last words on the tip of his tongue, as sticky and lingering as unmelted syrup. I really couldn't hold it in this time, and the corner of my mouth twitched. In my peripheral vision, Lin Xiaoman was clutching the curtain tightly, her gaze fixed on Gu Shihan as if trying to burn 2 holes through his suit. Suddenly, I felt a mischievous urge. As Gu Shihan was leaving, I stepped forward and gently ran my slender fingers along his tie. Your tie is crooked. I deliberately pitched my voice high, sweet enough to drip with honey. Gu Shihan immediately froze on the spot, the tips of his ears turning visibly red. The price I paid. The moment he stepped out the door, I bolted to the bathroom and scrubbed my hands raw. I pumped hand soap 3 times and didn't stop until my skin was nearly rubbed off. My efforts were not in vain. Late at night, Lin Xiaoman indeed couldn't resist choosing to use the system. I want to exchange for Brother Gu's affection toward Jiang Wanqing, the mechanical voice replied coldly. Exchanging requires consuming 10 years of your lifespan. Confirm. Exchange requires consuming 10 years of lifespan. Confirm. Less nonsense. Exchange now. Leaning against the door outside, I laughed silently. Idiot, the kind of goodwill that Gu Shihan has, I'd find it disgusting even if it were given to me for free. Turning back to my room, I continued playing pre-recorded game sound effects on my phone while wearing earplugs and working through practice questions. After all, I had done some self-reflection. Lin Xiaoman was right. If someone who's already been admitted through a referral program is afraid of the college entrance exam, won't people gossip about it? On the day of the exam, when I went downstairs, I ran into Aunt Lin preparing breakfast. Wanqing, heading out so early. She wiped her hands, looking somewhat surprised. I shook the elegantly wrapped gift box in my hand. It's Shihan's birthday today, and I'm planning to give him a surprise. A snicker came from the stairwell landing. Lin Xiaoman was wearing a brand new floral dress, with even the ends of her hair clearly carefully styled. I advise you not to waste your efforts. Brother Gu is not interested in seeing you today. Holy crap, the female lead looks so beautiful today. This white dress makes her look like a goddess descending to earth. The female supporting character is so shameless, trying to steal the male lead. No wonder the system screwed her over, waiting for the female lead to wipe that smug look off her face. Let her learn what it means to ask for humiliation. I ignored her and walked straight to the door. Behind me, Lin Xiaoman was still taunting. Don't say I didn't warn you when you end up humiliating yourself. The driver had been waiting for a while. Seeing me come out, he respectfully opened the car door. Miss, are we going to the Gu family's old residence? No, to No. 7 High School. I opened the gift box beside me. Inside the box, neatly arranged, were 2 B pencils, an eraser, and black ink pens. The bullet comments always say, this is a predetermined fate, but who exactly decided that fate cannot be written by one's own hand? I rubbed my admission ticket between my fingers and looked up at the sunlight outside the exam hall. By then, quite a few parents had already gathered at the school gate, quietly reminding their children to stay relaxed. At the edge of the crowd, a few travel-worn figures made my pupils contract slightly. My parents, who were supposed to be at the overseas branch office, were now holding a banner reading, wishing our daughter top marks in the college entrance exam. Dressed in suits and leather shoes, my father looked completely out of place. while my mother's high heels had even sunk into the mud of the greenbelt. They had clearly come straight from the airport. As their suitcases still stood by their feet, I nodded firmly at them and turned to walk toward the entrance of the exam hall, without those glaring Danmaku to distract me. I performed very well on the first day of the exam, even the final challenge that made the teachers frown, I solved in 2 different ways. Afraid that the exam hall was too far from home, my parents had booked a suite early on at the hotel across from the school. "Sweetie, would you like to take a bath first? I've had someone prepare lavender-scented bath salts." Dad immediately chimed in, "That's right, relax and get some rest so you can perform even better tomorrow." As he spoke, he pulled a note from the inner pocket of his suit jacket. "This is a meal plan I had a professional nutritionist put together for you. I've already told the kitchen to prepare it." I looked at them looking as if they were facing a formidable enemy, and suddenly remembered the scene from the first time I took a piano grade exam as a child. Back then they were just like this too. It was only a level 2 exam, but they were as nervous as if I were about to perform at the Vienna Golden Hall. "Mom, Dad, don't worry, when the time comes, I'll bring home a top scorer title for you." Leaning against the soft pillow in the hotel, I opened my phone. On Moments, Lin Xiaoman just updated a 9-grid photo post. At the center is a close-up of her and Gu Shihan with their fingers interlocked, captioned, "For someone's birthday." The gift they wanted turned out to be me. The other 8 photos are all luxury items Gu Shihan gave her, including that ice blue diamond brooch that should have been mine. Just then, my best friend's video call suddenly popped up. In the frame, she leaned close to the camera with a gossipy look on her face. "I didn't want to disturb your rest, but girl, I really can't hold it in anymore. Guess who I just saw at my family's hotel? Young Master Gu. He booked the presidential suite for a whole week." She winked mischievously, her red lips curling into a sly smile. "He's got quite the stamina. Been busy since noon and hasn't stepped out once. You don't regret it, do you?" I lowered my eyes and flipped through the selected college entrance exam essays in my hand, letting out a soft laugh at the words, "Regret. You know better than anyone. I've dreamed of tearing up this engagement." "Wait, that girl looks like Lin Xiaoman." I paused for a moment, then smiled even more brightly. "Remember to remind housekeeping to prepare extra bottles of disinfectant. After all, who in the whole city doesn't know that Gu Shihan is notoriously known as a party animal?" Filthy. After the college entrance exam ended, until the day I checked my results, I lived an unusually peaceful life. After all, Lin Xiaoman was busy, experiencing the joys of adulthood. With Gu Shihan, the two were inseparable, clinging to each other as if they wanted to be together every second, causing quite a stir. Word had it that Gu Shihan went on a hunger strike for 3 days at home, kneeling in the ancestral hall and shouting hoarsely, "I will marry no one but Lin Xiaoman in this lifetime." When the news reached the Jiang family, my father smashed his teacup on the spot. That very evening, Gu's parents came to our door with generous gifts to apologize. Gu's mother, her shrewd eyes darting around as she sized up our home's decor, put on a beaming smile and said, "Wan Qing, don't you worry, not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry can waltz into our Gu family. You're the only daughter-in-law we acknowledge." My mother let out a cold laugh and cut her off directly. "No need, since your son has someone else in his heart. The Jiang family will not stand in the way of young lovers. The engagement is annulled." Mother Gu's face instantly turned pale. Of course they were panicking. The Gu family had long been an empty shell, barely propped up by the lingering reputation of their ancestors. Gu Shihan was also a good-for-nothing second-generation rich kid, constantly surrounded by scandalous gossip and repeatedly photographed entering and leaving certain questionable venues. There have long been rumors in the circle that he contracted some kind of dirty disease. My parents had wanted to break off the engagement for a long time, but because Mr. Gu had once saved the life of the old matriarch of the Jiang family, that debt of gratitude weighed on them, making it hard for the Jiang family to be the one to openly break ties. Just then, a commotion suddenly broke out outside. "I am the Jiang family's biological daughter. What gives you the right to stop me?" Lin Xiaoman ignored the security guard's obstruction and forced her way in, her face streaked with pitiful tears. "Dad, Mom," she dropped to her knees with a thud, weeping bitterly. "I am your real daughter." Her mother frowned. "Lin Xiaoman, have you lost your mind? Isn't your mom Auntie Zhang out buying groceries?" Lin Xiaoman bit her lip, frantically questioning the system in her mind. "Didn't you say you've already swapped our identities? Why don't they recognize me?" The system replied coldly, "The identity has been swapped, but since no one verifies it, naturally no one knows." Lin Xiaoman was so furious that she ground her teeth and immediately ordered, Get me a new paternity test, right now. System, requires 10 years of lifespan, 10 years for that, she nearly shrieked. 1 year, that's not nearly enough, I could go to the hospital right now and pull off something this low-tech. System, 5 years, fine, go to the hospital and try it, see if they'll play along or just ignore you. Indeed, Aunt Zhang gave birth to Lin Xiaoman at a county clinic, while my mother was in the best tertiary hospital in the city, a private room with round-the-clock nursing. The two places are nearly 200 kilometers apart, with absolutely no connection at all. Although I don't look much like my parents, my facial features are almost identical to my grandmother's when she was young. Moreover, the Jiang family arranges annual health check UPS for the whole family, and the blood type reports have never shown any issue. Under these circumstances, my parents would never suspect me, they would only regard Lin Xiaoman as delusional. Lin Xiaoman was shaking with anger, but having come this far, she had to follow through. Switch right now, ding, 5 years of life consumed, paternity test results have been generated. Lin Xiaoman's hands trembling, she pulled an appraisal report stamped with an official red seal from her bag and raised it high. Dad, Mom, look, I am your own flesh and blood. The entire room erupted in an uproar. My parents exchanged a glance. After a moment of silence, my father spoke slowly. In that case, Lin Xiaoman's eyes lit up, the corners of her mouth already curving upward uncontrollably. Since Xiaoman is our biological daughter, let her fulfill the engagement with the Gu family. Best of both worlds. The Gu parents exchanged a glance and nodded in agreement. The Gu parents swiftly exchanged a look, then broke into broad smiles and nodded repeatedly. It's only right for them, as long as they could latch onto the Jiang family's powerful connections. Which daughter they married didn't matter at all, however, the mother suddenly added in a cold voice, her sharp gaze sweeping over everyone present. Let me be frank from the start, if anyone dares to pester Wanqing in the future, don't blame the Jiang family for turning hostile and disowning them. Lin Xiaoman was immersed in ecstasy, completely unaware of the deeper meaning in her mother's words. She had thought that marrying Gu Shihan was a recognition of her status as a daughter of the Jiang family. Jiang Wanqing, are you so jealous you've gone mad? After all, brother Gu is mine now, the Jiang family heiress status is mine, and Mom and Dad's affection is all mine too. She dramatically covered her mouth, feigning surprise. Oh no, I should be calling you Lin Wanqing now, an alcoholic, abusive father, a disabled and impoverished mother, and oh, right, you also have a little brother who's in debt at the gambling den. Lin Xiaoman gave a coy smile, but if you kneel and beg me now, maybe I'll be in a good enough mood to let you stay in the Jiang family, just in time to watch brother Gu and me at our wedding. Ah, the female lead is so cool. Now this is the aura of a true heiress. The supporting female lead may look calm now, but she must be dying of jealousy inside. When the wedding happens, we'll book the most luxurious imperial hotel in the capital, publicly announce the female lead as the true heiress, leave all the family assets to her, and the supporting female lead won't be able to take the shock and will end herself. Then the story will be over. I put down my teacup slowly and deliberately. The porcelain cup clinked against the saucer with a crisp sound. Seeing me unmoved, Lin Xiaoman's face twisted abruptly. Jiang Wanqing, do you really think playing deaf and dumb will do you any good? She turned her head, her voice suddenly rising sharply. Dad, Mom, I want her out of the Jiang family right now. My mother suddenly let out a cold laugh, her fingers firmly grasping my wrist with a steady, warm pressure. Impossible, no matter what, Wanqing will always be a child of the Jiang family. At this moment, my father also stood up, his tall figure blocking me. Xiaoman, that's enough. Lin Xiaoman stared in disbelief, her eyes wide. Why, I am your biological daughter now. I am the true heiress of the Jiang family. It must be you. You did something to rig this, didn't you? I took a gentle sip of tea, and from an angle no one could see, gave her a meaningful smile. What's going on with the plot now? The Jiang family parents must not have completely abandoned the female supporting character yet, but that doesn't make sense. By now, they should already know the A university guaranteed admission was switched to the female lead. Exactly, she lost the marriage alliance and didn't get into college. According to the original story, the Jiang family should have kicked out the female supporting character by now. Just then, my phone rang. Hello, is this Jiang Wanqing? I pressed the speakerphone button, and my clear voice rang out especially sharply in the silent living room. this is Tsinghua University Admissions Office. Congratulations on becoming the top scorer in our province's science track with a score of 728. The next second, the villa's front door was abruptly pushed open. Dazzling camera flashes instantly filled the entire space as reporters from over a dozen media outlets poured in. Student Jiang, could you share some of your study tips with us? I heard you also won a gold medal in the physics competition. How do you balance contest preparation with college entrance exam prep? Jiang, can you reveal whether you will choose Tsinghua or Peking University? Amid the reporter's relentless barrage of questions, Lin Xiaoman's expression grew increasingly grim. Impossible, you cheated, you clearly said you weren't going to take the college entrance exam. She stumbled and rushed in front of me, her carefully styled hair already disheveled. I'm the real top scorer in the college entrance exam, this score should be mine. The crowd looked at her as if she were crazy. Excuse me, but all exam halls in the city had surveillance cameras on the day of the exam. Such an accusation is very serious. A reporter couldn't help but speak up. That's right. If anything, it seems like you're the one who didn't take the college entrance exam. Someone in the crowd suddenly laughed and said, I heard she chose the most unpopular major at University A, and after graduation, she'll just be shoveling coal into a boiler. Exactly, and saying she got a direct recommendation. Who knows what's going on in that head of hers? The taunts came one after another. Lin Xiaoman's face turned from pale to ashen, finally flushing a deep purple. She trembled all over, her carefully applied eye makeup smudged by tears, making her look like a ridiculous clown. The barrage exploded, dense lines of text slithering through the air like venomous snakes. The female supporting character is totally a scheming hypocrite, isn't she? Pretending to play games while secretly grinding harder than anyone else. Ha ha ha, hilarious. Some people's faces are swollen from being slapped, and they're still going on about the female lead. Female supporting character, secretly take the college entrance exam and shock everyone. So what? The female lead can just use her system to swap for the supporting character's exam scores. After all that trouble, the supporting character still ends up with nothing. Exactly, with the system activated, the top scorer changes hands. Just wait for the female lead to reap the rewards. Lin Xiaoman, that's right, Jiang Wanqing, no matter how many schemes you hatch. So what? I have the system. In the face of absolute power, your hard work is nothing but a joke. System, swap Jiang Wanqing's college entrance exam scores with mine right now. This instant, in an instant, the air in the entire room seemed to be sucked out, and even the sound of breathing froze. The laptop screen flickered, and the score inquiry page twisted unnaturally. The three characters, Jiang Wanqing, gradually blurred as if erased by an invisible eraser, replaced by the name Lin Xiaoman, which was slowly taking shape. Ha ha ha, see, this is the real result. I am the one. Suddenly, her smile froze on her face. Her slender fingers clutched the fabric at her chest as she gasped for air. System, what's going on? My heart hurts so much. At that moment, the name on the computer screen seemed to burst like a popped bubble, finally settling on Jiang Wanqing. 728 points. No, this can't be. Lin Xiaoman staggered a few steps, crawled over, and frantically pounded the keyboard. Refresh, just refresh for me. She grabbed her disheveled hair. System, come out. System, the cold mechanical voice sounded. Insufficient lifespan. Unbinding system. Lin Xiaoman widened her eyes in terror. What exactly is going on? System detected remaining host life value, 5-inch. Lin Xiaoman, 5 years. How can it be only 5 years? System, 4, 3, 2, 1. In an instant, Lin Xiaoman's pupils dilated, and her body collapsed like a marionette with its strings cut. Why did the female lead suddenly go offline? Wasn't it said before that she had at least 30 or 40 years of life left? This is the retribution for greed. The fanboy/fangirl upstairs has been confirmed as a brainless fan. Greed overtakes reason. Lin Xiaoman didn't know that besides the system, the virus carried by Gu Shihan was also devouring her vitality. With every intimate contact between them, it planted fatal hidden dangers in her blood. Wow, after watching until now, this female supporting character is the real heroine. I'm totally in love with her. This counter kill is so cool. From now on, I'm on the side of the supporting character. The bullet screen comments floating in the air gradually faded as Lin Xiaoman's life slipped away, finally vanishing like morning mist. The crowd around her seemed to wake from a dream. Some took out their phones, while others frantically checked Lin Xiaoman's pulse, but it was all in vain. Amid the uproar, I looked out the window. the sunlight was just right. My mother walked over quickly and took my hand. The warm touch felt incredibly real. The system would never understand. True bloodline is the unspoken understanding and deep concern that flows through one's veins, even if identities were swapped. Even if the data on the DNA report is undeniably real. This bond still cannot be severed. As the top science scorer in the provincial college entrance exam, Gaokao, I ultimately chose the physics department at Qingbei University. Although the decision to give up my dream of aerospace was somewhat difficult, I do have something I'd rather pursue. Over the next 5 years, I attended classes, conducted experiments, and published papers, steadily advancing along the academic path, progressing all the way from undergraduate to a PhD. Life seemed to have returned to its normal track, but only I knew that the memories of the system had never faded, until one day, while I was calibrating the latest generation of quantum interferometer in the lab, suddenly, a familiar line of text appeared at the edge of my vision. Is this the new female lead? This time it's definitely a badass female lead story, right? Not another wife-centric story that's false advertising. The tweezers in my hand paused slightly. A familiar mechanical voice sounded in my ear. Exchange system activated. Host Jiang Wanqing, please designate your exchange target. I slowly straightened up, a cold smile curling at the corners of my mouth. 5 years, it had finally reappeared. Anything can be exchanged, I asked softly, my fingers subtly moving toward the graphene chip on the lab table. Of course, the system's voice carried a seductive tone. No matter who or what, wealth, talent, love, as long as you desire it, for 10 years of your lifespan, any wish can be granted, I said. All right, then the exchange subject I designate is you, system. What? I said. I repeated each word deliberately. I'll trade 10 years of my life for all of your abilities. In an instant, the lights in the entire laboratory flickered wildly, and the instruments let out a piercing alarm. The system's mechanical voice became distorted. Warning, logic conflict, insufficient host permissions, emergency unbinding procedure initiated. Too late. I suddenly grabbed the graphene chip on the lab bench, the fruit of 5 years of painstaking work, an energy capture device designed based on the principle of quantum entanglement. The chip emitted a blinding blue light, and countless streams of data coiled like chains around the system attempting to escape. A harsh electrical buzzing sounded in my ears, and the barrage of comments turned into wildly scrolling gibberish. Suddenly, all the equipment in the lab went black at the same time, and the entire space fell into dead silence. 3 seconds later, a glaring red light flashed before my eyes, and a line of text slowly emerged. Exchange agreement executed, system core permissions transferred to Jiang Wanqing. Outside the window, the early summer sun remained bright and warm. I rubbed the chip between my fingers and looked at the barrage of comments reappearing before me. Holy shit, this host just turned the tables on the system. So now, she's become the master of the system. I think this time, it's my turn to set the rules. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, the school beauty got angry because I went home with my childhood sweetheart. She deliberately crossed the road in front of us, and just as the school beauty was about to be hit by a car, my childhood sweetheart, Lin Sicheng, pulled his hand away from mine and rushed over. Intending to save her, I used all my strength to hug my childhood sweetheart from behind, preventing him from crossing the road as well. As a result, after the campus belle was hit by a car, her calf was run over by another truck from behind. Below the knee, it was almost crushed into a pulp. After being rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment, the only option was amputation. After the campus belle woke up, she was utterly devastated. One late night, she climbed to the rooftop and chose to end her life. After attending her funeral, I, who had prevented my childhood friend from saving the campus belle, became the enemy of the entire class. My childhood friend beat me up in the abandoned classroom, shouting angrily, "I've never seen someone as selfish as you. How dare you stop me from saving Lori?" Classmates who were close to the school beauty during her lifetime came over one by one, slapping me and kicking me with all their might. The insults and violence lasted for over 5 hours. They locked me in the already abandoned classroom and left. For 5 whole days, no one discovered my whereabouts, nor did anyone turn back to save me. In the end, severely injured, I died of thirst and starvation right there. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the moment when my childhood friend rushed forward to save the school beauty. Seeing the familiar surroundings and looking down at the clean, tidy school uniform my mother had washed for me, my pupils uncontrollably contracted and trembled. I had been reborn. Why did she rush out like that? It's too dangerous. The familiar voice beside me belonged to my childhood friend Lin Sicheng, who looked panicked. He quickly tensed his muscles and lifted his leg, ready to dash across the road. It was the peak of rush hour, and the cars on the road flowed like an unbroken stream. This time, I didn't use all my strength to hold onto my childhood friend and keep him on the safe sidewalk. Instead, I held my breath, pressed down on my philtrum, and widened my eyes as if I were frightened. As Lin Sicheng rushed out, I grabbed at the air, clenched my fist, and pretended to cry out in anguish, "Sicheng, danger, don't go." I wanted to stop him. Crossing the street is an extremely dangerous action in itself, especially on such a busy road, right during the peak hours after school and work, but Lin Sicheng obviously wouldn't take my words to heart. The campus bell before him was more important than the noisy me by his side. With a determined look in his eyes, he quickly stepped over the roadside barrier without even glancing at me. Beyond that was the turning point of the road, with only a short distance between the path ahead and the location where their accident occurred. The irrational actions of the school beauty and the childhood friend caused the car closest to our side to brake abruptly, resulting in a collision with the vehicle behind. The closer to the other side, the slower the braking, making it impossible for the following vehicle to control in time, causing it to be pushed forward by inertia. When the airbag in the driver's seat deployed, I remembered that in my previous life, 2 drivers were directly knocked unconscious in their seats. Luo Li's momentary fit of anger made her completely unaware that the vehicles on the other side of the road, due to blind spots and inertia, would be unable to guard against someone suddenly rushing out, leading to an unavoidable tragic outcome, a lifelong regret. Lin Sicheng's current thought was to quickly push our class's campus bell. Luo Li, to the other side of the sidewalk. Lin Sicheng, who pushed her, was hit by the vehicle this time because of the pause, taking Luo Li's place, and the impact threw him onto the road. Luo Li, who was now close to the other side of the sidewalk, fell to the ground with only minor abrasions. Using all her strength, she frantically crawled toward a safe spot in terror. My childhood sweetheart was knocked to the ground by the vehicle in front, which couldn't slow down in time and first ran over his hand. He endured the excruciating pain and tried to crawl onto the sidewalk. The truck behind was too high to see the person lying on the ground. The truck mercilessly ran over his legs, and Lin Sicheng let out a piercing scream. The truck driver and the passing witnesses also let out various panicked and short cries. On the road, shattered bones and flesh were splattered everywhere. His calf had turned into a flat, bright red mush. Lori fainted from fright, and several passers-by were also so terrified that they collapsed weakly on the road. 2, pretended to be stunned, kneeling dazedly on the sidewalk, my hands gripping the straps of my backpack tightly. But in my heart, I couldn't help but feel a surge of joy. In this life, it's my childhood sweetheart's turn. I wonder if this misfortune has befallen him. Will he genuinely thank me for not stopping it? My dad and Lin Sicheng's dad were high school classmates. I never expected that after so many years, we would end up living in the same neighborhood, becoming neighbors who see each other all the time. As a result, our mothers became very close friends. Lin Sicheng and I, despite our personalities, never really liked each other since childhood, but we were just used to each other's presence. Because our parents were neighbors, we spent a lot of time together, practically inseparable. In the eyes of adults, we were childhood sweethearts, innocent and inseparable. In high school, I successfully got into the same school my mother once attended. Lin Sicheng's parents were very busy, while my mother was a full-time homemaker. At his mother's request, my mother would prepare an extra portion of breakfast every day for me to bring to him. My mom uses high-quality ingredients, no artificial additives or shortcuts. Plus, since it's food for kids, my mom prepares it more carefully than what's sold at school or in stores, and it's delicious. Lin Sicheng and I had a rushed commute to school every day, and he always ate with great satisfaction. Even by our second year of high school, we were still assigned to the same class as classmates. We studied science together, walking the same route to and from school every day. But then a bright and beautiful campus belle, Luo Li, joined our class. Soon, Lin Sicheng's gaze was often fixed on Luo Li. To walk to school with Luo Li, Lin Sicheng started waking up earlier than I did. He no longer walks with me or waits for me to go to school together. Every day, I bring 2 breakfasts to give to him. Today, it's scallion and beef buns made by my mom. Since I arrived later than him, I was worried they wouldn't taste as good once they got cold. Reminded him as I handed it over, today's filling is scallion and beef, eat it while it's hot. But the loli suddenly looked at the bun in my hand with a disdainful and disgusted expression. She said casually, I hate things with strong smells like scallions and garlic the most. How can you even eat that? Lin Sicheng, who had become flustered upon seeing my smile, gave a little smile to Loli. Suing, take it away quickly, don't make her sick. Loli, feeling protected, showed a sweet smile, which made Lin Sicheng's eyes tremble slightly. I stood there awkwardly, feeling somewhat at a loss, because he's been eating this kind of breakfast for over a year now. I don't know why Lin Sicheng suddenly changed when he saw me standing there in a daze. Lin Sicheng lowered his head and focused on the problem. I said blankly, weren't you quite happy eating it every day before? Lin Sicheng, however, turned cold and quickly retorted, I never insisted on eating your breakfast. It's your family that's been eagerly delivering it every day. The classmates passing by burst into mocking laughter, with Luoli laughing so hard she was practically trembling. I thought this might be his true feelings, but I still overheard him unconsciously complaining about hunger while clutching his stomach during the third class. But after he rejected me, I ended up eating all 4 buns myself, and I felt uncomfortably full for several classes afterward. Lin Sicheng looked at me and mouthed the words, so stingy. I went home and told my mom about it. After hearing the whole story, my mom still told me to keep sending the breakfast as usual, but she quietly adjusted the recipe. However, Luoli, the school beauty who sits in front of Lin Sicheng, doesn't just avoid ginger, scallions, and garlic. From time to time, she would say, oh, I'm allergic to peanut butter. Don't eat that kind of thing in front of me. You actually eat such greasy breakfasts. I couldn't possibly take a single bite. Lori's dream is to become an actress. She has been learning dance and acting since childhood and has been dieting for a long time. She has long since developed an instinctive aversion to any food she dislikes or craves but cannot eat. Several times, Lin Sicheng casually took a few bites of the breakfast my mom made and then threw it away, or he would mock me for being fat and only knowing how to eat. Echoing Lori's words, I endured it all silently, for the sake of the bond we shared growing up together, until one time, he didn't even take a single bite and just threw it directly into the classroom trash can. Furious and burning with anger, I took a photo and sent it directly to Lin Sicheng's mother and my own mom. Anger clouded my judgment, all in an effort to defend my mom and the accumulated humiliation from the past. I was a bit at a loss for words and sent a few messages. Aunt Lin, please see for yourself how Lin Sicheng treated the breakfast my mom made. He didn't even take a bite before throwing it away, and even mocked me with his classmates, as if I were forcing him to eat it every day. Lin Sicheng's grades are usually poor, and on top of that, he's ungrateful. My mom worked hard to make breakfast, and I brought it to him every day. Is this how he treats our family? My parents thought I was a bit impulsive and not very good with words. Lin Sicheng also blamed me for telling on him, which got him a beating from his parents. From that day on, I no longer had to bring him breakfast. I don't know what Lin's parents said to him. From then on, Lin Sicheng's gaze toward me was tinged with a strong sense of resentment. I think it wasn't just about avenging the school beauty. My grades have always been better than his since childhood, and the atmosphere at home has been more harmonious. In my previous life, before they beat me up, I heard someone say, Suing, do you think getting into the top 10 in the school is something to be proud of? The Lin family's parents were stricter with him because he was a boy. His hatred for me was more complex, tinged with jealousy and resentment, and he had long wanted to make me disappear completely. It's just that our parents were too kind-hearted, even harboring fantasies about youthful love. In this era of rapid development, competing with each other is the most common relationship for children of my age and Lin Sicheng's, so much so that I overlooked the fact that Lin Sicheng by my side was an extremely dangerous presence. In my past life, Lin Sicheng wanted to save Luoli, partly out of a sense of personal heroism. He paid no heed to the potential harm it could cause or to the other normal vehicles on the road. The people in those cars were also someone's father, someone's daughter, and so on. I know that suddenly crossing the street can cause harm not only to pedestrians. We are in the most critical period of high school, our senior year. I don't want this neighbor who has lived next to me since childhood to risk his life or his bright future, so I stopped him at all costs, holding him back and pulling him, making sure he couldn't get near that dangerous situation. Lin Sicheng was momentarily flustered by my embrace and forgot to struggle, only able to watch in stunned silence as Luoli had one of her legs crushed. Hearing Lori let out a sharp cry of pain, he was furious. He lowered his head, broke free from my hands, and then turned around and slapped me with such force that I was left with a bleeding nose, a split lip, and collapsed on the ground. The pedestrians across the street took a moment to react before hurriedly dragging Lori to a safer area. Then, they took out their phones to call 911 and an ambulance. Lin Xiqing ran toward the crosswalk ahead and made his way to the other side, and at that time, I was so shocked by the sudden slap and the cruelty before my eyes that I was left on the ground. Later, a passing aunt helped me up and brushed the dust off my clothes. The next day at school, I heard the news that Lori needed to have one of her legs amputated. I was then pushed around and insulted by Lin Xiqing in front of the whole class. Lin Xiqing seemed to have great confidence that, as long as I didn't stop him, he could rescue Lori from the traffic. The surrounding classmates were swayed by his few words, shifting from the fact that Lori herself had crossed the street to the idea that I disregarded her life and prevented Lin Xiqing from saving Lori, who had accidentally wandered onto the road. He looked at me with disdain, suing, "I know you've liked me since we were kids, but you can't be this selfish." At that moment, I regretted it. I had stopped Lin Xiqing from saving Lori. Unfortunately, the incident had already occurred, and at the time, I acted according to my conscience and did what I believed was right. In the days that followed, photos from the accident scene and a video of me stopping Lin Xiqing from rescuing others were uploaded online. A few classmates maliciously spread the story, especially Lin Xiqing, who, as a party involved, continuously distorted the facts. The focus shifted to the idea that I was jealous of Luo Li because I liked Lin Xiqing. Rational netizens would comment that jaywalking is simply asking for trouble, but they too were criticized for being cold-hearted and indifferent. I was subjected to online bullying, and extreme netizens even tracked down my school to confront and insult me in person. At school, all my classmates began to isolate and bully me. As the college entrance exam approached, Luo Li gradually started trying to participate in the regular college entrance exam after regaining consciousness. Her grades were never good enough to begin with. Her goal was to get into an art school early through the art exam. For her, taking the regular college entrance exam was as difficult as climbing to the sky, especially with her physical disability. Several of her friends from outside school, who had already been admitted early through art school recruitment training programs, were posting celebratory videos and selfies all over their social media. While Luo Li's dream was completely shattered, she saw girls who were even less capable than her also getting accepted. She completely broke down emotionally, thinking that she would have to live the rest of her life with such a disability. One late night, she climbed to the rooftop of the hospital and jumped headfirst. Despite rescue efforts, she died on the spot. The next day, when the entire class learned the news, they were all emotionally affected, especially Lin Xiqing, whose gaze toward me was filled with hatred and malice. From that moment on, I prayed silently every day, hoping I could return to that day. If possible, I would never stop Lin Xiqing. Because I was isolated by Lin Xiqing and his followers, I wore headphones every day and numbed myself by solving problems. My grades were not affected in the slightest. In fact, they even improved. Several classmates who were friends with Luo Li and originally ranked high also saw their grades slip. After school, they took me to a classroom in the abandoned teaching building. I kept begging for mercy and apologizing, telling the truth, but they were unwilling to let go of someone as selfish as me. Lin Xiqing repeatedly refuted my words. "It was you who stopped me from saving Luo Li. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been disabled, nor would she have taken her own life." I explained to him that given the road conditions at the time, anyone could have been involved in an accident. I didn't want Lin Xiqing to risk his life as compensation, especially since the traffic police had determined that the accident was caused by her crossing the road recklessly. They clearly knew the situation well, yet they beat me out of a sense of loyalty, subjecting me to all kinds of malicious bullying and humiliation. Lin Xiqing, his eyes red with rage, roared at me, "How dare you score so well? Are you asking for death by getting such high marks as a girl? You people will never understand our hard work." I lay on the ground, silently enduring the rain of fists and kicks. So that's how it is. Luo Li's death was just their excuse. Lin Xiqing never intended to let me live, nor did he want to give me the chance to take the college entrance exam. The classmates around also wanted to squeeze out a competitor, with a reasonable excuse. Of course, they had to destroy what they thought was the most reasonable thing. In the end, they each had their own matters to attend to and left first, and Lin Xiqing was still viciously beating me, for more than 5 hours. I don't know how I made it through, starting with the miserable screams. Later on, I could no longer make a sound. After seeing me faint, Lin Xiqing, who had calmed down, grew fearful. He closed the door and blocked the entrance with a discarded chair on the cold floor. I gradually lost all sensation. Given a second chance at life, I decided to fight back, feigning illness and controlling my scores. I wanted to see what kind of lives these inherently wicked people would lead. When my rankings suddenly plummeted in this life, the car accident that happened to Lin Sicheng was even more tragic than in the previous life. The truck driver quickly got out of the car to check the situation, and the drivers around also stopped and left their vehicles, waiting for the traffic police. The vehicles behind, unaware of the situation, honked their horns several times in a row. For a moment, the crowd on the road was in a state of panic, and I quickly fell to the ground, letting out a heart-wrenching wail at the two people lying on the ground. It seemed as though her spirit had suffered a tremendous shock, just like in her previous life. There was a kind-hearted aunt nearby, and her grandmother held her, whose eyes were red from crying, continuously comforting the child, telling her not to be afraid. Hearing my wailing, Lin Sicheng, whose face was twisted in pain, also noticed my breakdown. Luoli slowly came back to her senses and, from a safe distance, tried to inch closer to Lin Sicheng, but her pale face was filled with unease due to fear. I screamed hysterically at them, "It's all because of you, Lori. Why did you have to cross the street? Do you know what Sicheng sacrificed to save you? If something happens to Sicheng, what will his family do? He's their only son. From now on, I'll never go home with Sicheng again, okay? I'll stay far away from him for the rest of my life. Are you satisfied now?" The people around heard everything clearly and quickly deduced that it was an accident caused by a high school love triangle. Luoli stood up, wanting to defend herself, but found herself unable to speak. It was indeed because she saw me and Lin Sicheng walking home together again, something that rarely happened, having been surrounded by boys who adored her since childhood. She felt that her most loyal and handsome admirer was about to leave her. In an attempt to make Lin Sicheng feel that she was more important, she deliberately acted out of spite and made a joke. Her fair skin was covered in multiple abrasions, bleeding in several places. As a future actress, she cherished her appearance above all else. When she was taken to the hospital, she kept borrowing mirrors and phones from others at the hospital. The Lin family parents rushed over and burst into tears upon hearing the news. When Aunt Lin heard that Lin Sicheng needed an amputation, she cried her heart out, wishing she could bear the pain for her child. Uncle Lin silently wiped away his tears, casting several cold glances at Luoli, the girl for whom his son had risked his life to save. Shaken by the shock, I trembled uncontrollably and cried so hard that tears and mucus streamed down my face. Even as my parents held me in their arms when they arrived, the teachers who rushed over from the school frowned at the sight of my condition. They exchanged glances, thinking to themselves that a promising student like me might very well be ruined. During the critical period of senior year, in my previous life, my homeroom teacher had once suggested that I study at home to avoid the mental trauma from witnessing the car accident, which could directly affect my grades. I cried and pleaded with my parents and teachers multiple times, promising them, before I was allowed to return to school. In reality, after witnessing Luoli's tragic accident, I had to reduce my sleep and put in extra effort in private to maintain my grades. Little did I expect that by staying at school, I would become the target of everyone's criticism and attacks. In the end, due to the jealousy and hatred of those around me, I was led by Lin Sicheng's instigation to be abused to death. In this life, the teacher pondered for a moment and suggested that I study at home. I silently shed tears and nodded. My mother, standing beside me, had reddened eyes as she smoothed the stray hairs on my forehead. "This child has never given us any reason to worry since she was little. This time, she must have been truly frightened." My father sighed. "Susu, don't be afraid. Mom and Dad will support you in studying at home." I held them tightly, repeating over and over, "I won't walk home with Lin Sicheng anymore. I'll stay far away from him." Luoli crossed the street recklessly because she was angry. "I'll definitely stay far away from Lin Sicheng from now on, and never get close to him again." My parents were terrified, and they gradually began to realize it. After this incident, I cannot be allowed to approach the Lin family, especially Lin Sicheng, otherwise, it will have a significant impact on my mental state. The approval process will take 15 to 30 days, due to the special circumstances. The homeroom teacher immediately agreed to my leave request, remind me to complete the monthly report and conduct regular home visits at home, also remind my parents to supervise my study progress and ensure I participate in the monthly exams and necessary mock tests at school. My parents took me to the psychiatric department at the hospital for a checkup before pulling me along to bid farewell to the Lin family. Lin Sicheng was still undergoing emergency surgery, and his parents were sitting on chairs outside, overwhelmed with grief. Luoli was bewildered as her parents shielded her and apologized on her behalf. Lin Sicheng had likely mentioned Luoli to the Lin family parents, which explained the confusion in Luo Li's eyes. She couldn't quite understand the barely concealed resentment and coldness in the Lin family parents' eyes toward her. Even though her parents had forced her to apologize and agreed to cover the surgery expenses, they were still so angry, faced with the Lin parents' accusations of her reckless jaywalking, which had already earned her several lectures from traffic police, teachers, and her own parents. Luo Li was growing increasingly impatient. She snapped back emotionally. He was the one who insisted on saving me. I never asked him to rush into the street. They began to argue, and it took several attempts by the hospital nurses to calm them down. My parents, seeing the tense situation unfold before them, feared I might be further upset. After a brief greeting, they quickly took me home. At that moment, I secretly thought to myself, if Lin Xiqing woke up and discovered that his goddess wasn't the least bit grateful for his efforts, how ridiculous would that be? Perhaps the inner unease and that accident had an impact on her. Luo Li cried many times, urged by her own parents and the Lin family to visit Lin Xiqing more often at the hospital. The trouser legs from his thighs down lay flat on the hospital bed, and the arm in one sleeve was also empty. Lori, are you crying for me? After Lin Xiqing woke up, he saw Lori shedding tears like a beauty before him. His first words were to confirm his heroic feat with Lori, making that foolish accident seem less pitiful, completely ignoring the emotionally agitated Lin parents beside her. Aunt Lin thought of the hurtful words Luo Li had said after arguing with their family. You know, stop talking, Uncle Lin interrupted her. He didn't want his son to wake up and find out that he had saved someone who wasn't genuinely grateful from the heart. Luo Li's injuries were actually not severe. Multiple abrasions and a sprained ankle. What needed more calming was the fear from witnessing the car accident up close. After the accident, just like in her previous life, due to Luo Li's beauty, the incident quickly spread online. Although official news outlets pixelated her face, many bystanders had taken photos at the scene and directly posted them on Xiaohongshu and Weibo. Her parents, to make her appear pitiful, stayed for over 2 weeks as if she were a severely injured patient from the car accident. During this time, influencer companies had already come to negotiate, planning to take a dramatic and sensational route. Lori is an art student, and it's likely that when she recovers from her injuries and goes to participate in on-site admissions, she will attract a lot of camera and media attention. Lin Xiqing, who had just woken up from the car accident, was unaware of this. He was still immersed in the feeling of having saved the school beauty. Lin Xiqing had some unrealistic fantasies, thinking that Lori might offer herself in marriage to repay him with her lifelong devotion. He quickly spoke up. Dad, Mom, don't blame Lori. I wanted to save her myself. After Lin Xiqing finished speaking to his parents, he looked at Luo Li, whose eyes were red, and said with what he thought was a handsome line, as long as you're okay, I won't regret it. My mother and I went to visit at the time and saw Luo Li skillfully press the record button on her phone. During their time in the hospital together, they talked a lot. Many times, Lin Xiqing reluctantly parted ways with her, while Luo Li remained the perfect school belle, smiling sweetly as always. It seems that Lori must have recorded many of Lin Xiqing's words where he willingly saved her. After she returned to school early, I quickly learned the purpose of those recordings from our class's small group chat. Many of Lin Xiqing's close friends in the class, out of loyalty, went to ask Lori about the situation. At first, Lori was unwilling to go to school. She applied for self-study leave, planning to start preparing for the art college entrance exam half a year earlier than other art students, but those people weren't willing to let her off, pulling her into a few small group chats to ask what was going on. I glanced at the messages that Luo Li personally sent to the small group, along with a few lines from Lin Xiqing himself saying he didn't regret saving her. This helped Luo Li distance herself from the classmates' accusations that she was reckless and had caused harm, and she didn't forget to pull me into the group and tag me to help her respond. She asked me if I had personally seen Lin Xiqing voluntarily rush out, for the sake of her own reputation. Lori even claimed that she had already moved closer to the other side of the road, suggesting that Lin Xiqing might not have needed to save her, and that she wouldn't have been seriously injured anyway. I know Lori's heart is actually quite malicious, evident in small things like looking down on my breakfast or forcibly borrowing other classmates' umbrellas to avoid getting caught in the rain. Only the boys in our class and those who fawn over her think she's an exceptionally good girl. Facing the selfishness and distortion of facts after the accident is, for her, a form of self-protection. There was a certain attraction between her and Lin Xiqing, which drew them together in their mischief. After a long while, I vaguely replied, Xiqing, sigh. Lori must have been terrified, but I couldn't stop him. Someone below posted a comment, Xiqing loves Lori. I couldn't stop him either, it was as childish as elementary school students, and several people actually copied and pasted the same message in reply. My mother patted my shoulder and said, "Studying at home isn't the same as being in a school environment, you need to be highly self-disciplined." From that day on, I reduced the frequency of checking my phone and focused more on my studies. However, the Lin family lives right next door to us, and some things about Lin Xiqing after his car accident always became crystal clear to me during family chats at the dinner table or during rest times. Through my parents, after Lin Xiqing entered high school, his parents became very busy with work. His family could only hire a caregiver to look after him, and they would take over the care of Lin Xiqing after work. Due to mental stress, I had to study at home. At such a time, my parents naturally wouldn't go out of their way to take care of someone else's child at home. My parents still need to supervise me according to the study schedule arranged by the teacher and prepare detailed information about me for the teacher's regular home visits. However, after I controlled my scores in the monthly exams, my parents still looked quite worried. They didn't dare to say, "Why do you do well on past exam papers at home but your performance drops at school?" They only mentioned it briefly. In reality, I was just pretending to be fragile on the surface while constantly urging my parents to look for houses in City A. "Once I get accepted there, won't you both come with me?" My dad spoke more rationally. "If you can get in, then it'll be easier for mom and dad to follow you there." But in action, he had already opened the real estate app for City A and started browsing floor plans. My mom, however, was completely biased in my favor. "It doesn't matter where Susu gets in, wherever you go, mom and dad will follow you there." Thinking of the tragic way I died in my past life, I can't even imagine how heartbroken my parents must have been when they discovered I had been abused to death. Lin Xiqing and his group would face legal consequences after my death, but since I've been reborn, I want him to personally experience the pain of not intervening, to prevent the tragedy that could have befallen me. Even though the sorrow from the accident has caused our two families to drift apart, one day, the caregiver had something urgent at home and needed to take half a day off. My mom received a long phone call from Aunt Lin, begging her to take care of Lin Xiqing for half a day, because of the incident in our second year of high school when Lin Xiqing threw away my mom's breakfast. Our family had a big argument with the Lin family. Aunt Lin wouldn't have come to trouble my mom unless it was absolutely necessary. When my mom was telling me about this, she was careful not to mention Lin Xiqing, fearing it might upset me. I pretended to be pitiful and scared, saying, "Mom, come back early. I won't go over there." This made my mom feel even more heartbroken. Although she sympathized with the child next door, my midterm exam results had dropped significantly. I performed well when taking exams at home in a familiar environment, but as soon as I got to school, I underperformed. This made them somewhat resentful of Lin Xiqing. It just so happened that not long after my mom arrived, she ran into Luoli. It turned out Lin Xiqing had also invited Luoli. After asking around, my mom could guess that Aunt Lin was following Lin Xiqing's request. She had called Luoli first, but after being put off for over an hour without knowing if she would come, she then called my mom. Luoli had been called over from her art exam training class on short notice and was somewhat in a mood. It was only because of the life-saving favor, coupled with Lin Xiqing's persistence and the fear of giving others a reason to criticize, that they still came over. They arrived a bit late. Originally, after entering, they habitually exchanged polite greetings and small talk, but Lin Xiqing suddenly furrowed his brows and began to squirming slightly and unnaturally. He needed to use the restroom, but his pride wouldn't allow him to say it out loud in front of Luoli. Lin Xiqing didn't want this unfamiliar aunt to personally take off his pants either. Luoli was actually very reluctant and kept talking about how she was going to take the entrance exam, implying that she wouldn't be able to come often in the future. She even started chatting with my mom about me studying at home. My mom, looking worried, mentioned a few words about my declining grades, which made them all concerned. Luoli exaggeratedly exclaimed, "Oh my goodness, Suing used to have such excellent grades at our school. What should we do now?" My mother sighed several times. "There's no other way, we can't force her to go to school. Maybe she'll remember how well Xiqing used to be in class and secretly feel sad." Luoli comforted my mother, making up nonsense. "Maybe if she takes the college entrance exam at another school, she'll do better." My mother lowered her eyebrows. "How can I put it? I hope so. Her grades have dropped so much that even the teacher is particularly worried, saying that several boys in the class who used to be unremarkable have now scored higher than her." Luoli had been somewhat brainwashed by others' malicious ideas. "Ah, Auntie Sue, when I was young, I also heard that girls can't outperform boys in high school exams, which is why I chose the arts track. Suing is quite pretty too, but it's a shame she didn't take that path. Lin Sicheng, having heard what he wanted to hear, was even more reluctant to interrupt my mother's concerns. As he spoke, Lin Sicheng suddenly struggled on the sofa, trying to get to his wheelchair, but in order to hear them discussing me, he intended to listen to every word clearly so he could relay it to his parents by the time they realized what was happening and clumsily pushed him to the bathroom. In a moment of panic, a strong foul odor and a sticky, unidentified substance slid down his pant leg. There were several inexplicable bulges at the back of Lin Sicheng's pants. After a while, a damp, soft stain began to seep through the front of his pants. He had diarrhea right in front of his goddess, Lori, and my mother. The stench lingered in the air. Refusing to dissipate, my mother turned her head, while Luoli frowned in disgust, her eyes wide as she glared at him. It pierced Lin Sicheng's sensitive and fragile heart deeply. After the embarrassment, he lost control and raged, "Get out, I don't need you here." My mom was about to speak to soothe his emotions, but she was quite frightened by his fierce glare. Luoli couldn't hide the disgust on her face. At that moment, my mom, with her kind and gentle appearance, seemed much more approachable than Lin Sicheng, who was raging and agitated. After pulling my mom out, she said at the door, "Auntie, just ignore him, good intentions don't always get rewarded, let's go." After Luoli and my mom left, roars and the sound of things being smashed could be heard from the Lin family's room. After this incident, Aunt Lin didn't dare to invite my mother over anymore. Luoli was going to another city to take an early offline entrance exam. Unlike her short-lived life in her previous life, she now posts various beautiful photos on her social media. In this life, she got involved with an internet celebrity company earlier, and every now and then, professional 9-grid photos are released online. She also earned a lot of sympathetic donations during her live stream after the accident. In the video, she was smiling brightly, her exquisite makeup adding to her beauty, as if the tragedy of that day's car accident had nothing to do with her. The Lin parents next door couldn't control Lin Sicheng. His right hand was injured, so he had to take the exam with his unskilled left hand. His grades dropped drastically, and they were heartbroken, but they couldn't bring it up. Lin Sicheng became extremely despondent. During that period, he would sometimes relieve himself carelessly. When the caregivers and his mother came to clean up, change his pants, or help him bathe, they showed no expression. Even feelings of sadness or heartache would send Lin Sicheng into a state of extreme anger and frenzy. In just one semester, they went through 7 or 8 professional caregivers. He is afraid of socializing, afraid of going out, and extremely resistant to his teacher's home visits. He is even more unwilling to see his classmates during monthly exams and mock exams, always feeling that those people look down on him and will secretly laugh at him behind his back. When Uncle Lin occasionally says a few harsh words, it only makes him feel even more humiliated. Gradually, he would think, if it weren't for saving Luoli, if Luoli hadn't insisted on crossing the street on her own. Gradually, he began to harbor resentment toward the little girl, Luoli, who would appear on his social media feed and screens. My deliberate avoidance and the way I would hide whenever I ran into him in the neighborhood also deprived Lin Sicheng of the chance to confide in his peers. To be honest, I eventually grew tired of the act and became much more emotionally stable. In the most recent formal mock exam, I no longer held back on my scores and performed exceptionally well. My homeroom teacher was so pleased that she called my parents. At the dinner table, my dad showed me a property listing. In the eyes of my parents and teachers, I had finally overcome my psychological shadow, and admission to a top-tier university was within reach. He had genuinely found a house for me in City A. My mom hugged me and promised to pay the deposit as soon as I passed the entrance exam. Once the college entrance exam results are confirmed, our whole family will move there as soon as possible, so we can continue to live happily together. That day, in the class group chat and smaller group chats, they started discussing, "Luoli is missing. Have any of you seen Luoli? She came back to school happily telling us about passing the early admission exam, and then she suddenly disappeared in the afternoon." Someone keenly guessed, Lin Sicheng suddenly returned to school. Could it be him? I think I might be the only one who knows where Lori might be. If someone pays a huge price for another person, the recipient of the favor is actually extremely easy to be held hostage. Even in the eyes of the benefactor, they are not worthy of happiness, nor can they be happy. Even if they may have some small strokes of luck, they must never be more fortunate than their benefactors. Lori, who also personally experienced the tragedy in that accident, has been living too well these days. After seeing the news, I quickly called the homeroom teacher and said that Lori might be in the abandoned classroom. Lin Sicheng had mentioned that location to me. The next morning, the class group chat exploded. When the homeroom teacher arrived at the abandoned teaching building with other teachers, Luo Li was being bullied by them, and the metal baseball bat Lin Sicheng held in his wheelchair was stained with blood. Several boys in the class were involved in this incident. In the abandoned classroom, the sound of Lori's screams echoed, and their actions were extremely malicious. They were expelled by the school, and what awaited them was prison. I realized that the events of my past life still occurred, but this time, I did not die, and Lori was rescued earlier, saving a life. I have completely moved past the incident that truly left a shadow on me in my previous life. After the college entrance examination ended, media and netizens occasionally recognized me and even expressed interest in interviewing me, but I was just an ordinary child who, because a neighbor's child was seriously injured in a car accident, became so frightened that my grades dropped and my emotions became unstable. It wasn't until the college entrance exam that I suddenly performed exceptionally well, got into my dream university, realized my dream, and prepared to move with my parents to a big city. That's all there was to it. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Add me on WeChat, MMY66618 for more book recommendations on my moments, and various downloads for Tomato, Tushio, Shuchi, Jihu, and Story Club. Before my husband died, he wanted to leave all his inheritance to his first love. If it weren't for you, Xia Man, who forced me to marry you by holding a favor over my head, would definitely have been with her, getting married and having children. You've ruined my entire life. If I could do it all over again, I'd rather die than have anything to do with you again. I watched him quietly as he poured out all his grievances, yet he never mentioned how, back then, I saved him and ended up with a lifelong disability in my right hand. I could no longer play the piano, lost my qualification as an art student, missed out on my dream university, and ended up living a mediocre life. I refused to sign the property waiver agreement. Furious, he took me with him as he jumped off the balcony. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of the college entrance exam, just as he was about to speed off to win back his first love in this life. I no longer wanted anything to do with him. Man, how are you getting on with packing? It's almost time. The familiar room. I flexed my right hand nimbly. No pain, no ugly scar. Back then, to pull Lu Huai from the car, my right hand was slashed by a piece of metal, leaving it disabled. Even with the slightest exertion, my right wrist would sting sharply. Mom, I just remembered I have a lesson with Teacher Lee today, so I won't be going to see Lu Huai off for the college entrance exam. I picked up the comb on the dressing table again, combing my hair while gazing at the youthful and vibrant reflection in the mirror, unable to hold back my tears. Lu Huai and I could be said to be childhood sweethearts. Our families were neighbors, and since I was little, I loved chasing after Lu Huai. I admit I had feelings for him. In my previous life, Lu Huai's first love, Su Feifei, broke up with him on the day of the college entrance exam, in an attempt to win Su Feifei back. Lu Huai didn't hesitate to drive his father's car and chase after her. I was worried about Lu Huai's safety while seeing him off for the exam, so I followed behind. Witnessing that horrific car accident, with gasoline spilling everywhere, I knew that if a fire broke out even by accident, Lu Huai would surely be trapped inside. Without a second thought, I desperately pulled the unconscious Lu Huai out of the driver's seat. My right hand was cut by an exposed piece of metal, leaving a long and deep wound that damaged the tendons. Even though the wound could be stitched up, my right hand could no longer exert force, leaving me permanently disabled. I lost my qualification as an art specialty student, missed the art exam for a recommended admission to the Central Academy of Fine Arts a month later, and gave up my beloved piano. I had to refocus on the cultural exams. And Lu Huai also repeated a year of high school. In the college entrance exam a year later, I barely managed to score within the range for an ordinary undergraduate program. Just as I was considering whether to repeat a year, Lu Huai suddenly confessed his feelings to me. He said, "My parents told me that if you hadn't risked your life to pull me out of the car back then, I might have died, and even if I had survived, I would have lost my right eye. Man, you injured your right hand for me and couldn't play the piano for the art exam. I'm willing to take responsibility for you for the rest of my life." Years of affection suddenly came to fruition at this moment, and I was overjoyed. What about Su Feifei? At that moment, Lu Huai's eyes were filled with nothing but hatred. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have ended up like this. Lu Huai gently touched his right eye. Even though it had been saved, it had suffered irreversible damage, and his vision in that I was now very poor. I can't hate her enough. After hesitating for a day, I finally decided to give up on repeating the year. I know I'm not cut out for studying, and with the changes in the college entrance exam policies, repeating might not be the best choice anyway. Besides, I am the only child in my family, and the family's foundation is enough to support me comfortably for a lifetime. To avoid being separated from Lu Huai right after getting together, I applied to a university in the same city as him. From our 4 years in college to graduation and marriage, we became a happy couple in the eyes of many classmates and their parents. He felt sorry for my hands and told me to stay at home without worry. He said, Man, now I can earn money too. I'll take care of you from now on and won't let you suffer any hardship. But I knew that Lu Huai's family company was in decline and on the verge of bankruptcy. Lu Huai was unwilling to give up and wanted to start his own business. Watching him grow increasingly haggard, I took meticulous care of him while also using my family's connections to help him. Once his career flourished, I felt at ease and continued to manage the household for him until our wedding anniversary. I prepared a lavish dinner and waited for him to come back so we could celebrate together. The doorbell rang, and I opened the door. A drunken Lu Huai was affectionately leaning halfway on a stunning woman. I recognized her. She was Su Feifei. I panicked, trying to maintain my composure and wanting to take Lu Huai's hand, but Lu Huai roughly shook me off and said impatiently, Don't touch me, Xia man. If it weren't for my parents forcing me back then, I would never have married you. I never liked you. The one I've always loved is Feifei. If it weren't for needing money to start my business, and your family just happened to have some, do you think I would have pretended to get along with you? Lu Huai looked at me with disgust. Su Feifei gave me a provocative smile. Sorry, Xia, my junior. Huai is drunk. I'm not drunk. Lu Huai straightened up and pushed me out the door. Just a nanny. Get out of my house. I couldn't believe it, even suspecting that Su Feifei was trying to sow discord, until Lu Huai's right eye suddenly developed complications and he was admitted to the ICU. But before he died, he wanted to leave all his property to Su Feifei. Man, Feifei is different from you. She's all alone, without wealthy parents. Only with money can she live comfortably for the rest of her life. Besides, back then, if it weren't for using gratitude as leverage, forcing my parents to make me marry you, it wouldn't have ruined my entire life. If I could start over, I'd rather die than have anything to do with you again. Lu Huai's words were like a sharp knife, cutting away the last bit of affection I had for him. In my past life, my heart full of joy turned into the biggest joke of all. Lu Huai, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. The passionate and sorrowful piano music echoed melodiously through the classroom. I played the final note. Teacher Li's cheeks flushed red as she clapped excitedly. Man, you've made tremendous progress. Keep up this momentum, and you'll be even more assured for the art school admission exam next month. I smiled at Teacher Li. It's all thanks to your excellent teaching, perhaps with the insights gained from an extra lifetime. My piano playing now carried a touch of soul, elevating my skills to a new level. After more than a decade, I was playing the piano again, and I lingered, caressing the distinct black and white keys. Thinking back to my previous life, I sought medical help everywhere to heal my right hand, but to no avail. Later, I wasted years taking care of Lu Huai. Now, it's truly wonderful. My right hand is perfectly intact. While I was lost in thought, my dad called. Considering the timing, I knew exactly what it was about. Lu Huai, will you live or die this time? Man, are you okay? My dad's worried voice came through, warming my heart. Dad, I'm fine. What happened? Your Uncle Lu said that Lu Huai got into a car accident while chasing after a girl, and it's very serious. Weren't you there to see him off for the exam today? I thought you might have followed him out. My dad didn't finish his sentence. In my previous life, I did indeed follow and chase after them. Dad, didn't Mom tell you that I have a piano lesson with Teacher Li scheduled for today? I'm still at the training center, so don't worry, Mr. Xia. Man has been practicing diligently all morning. Teacher Li kindly stepped forward and said loudly, Thank you, Teacher Li. Let's pause today's lesson for now. Hurry home, man, we need to go to the hospital to see Lu Huai. My dad arranged everything in just 2 sentences. As soon as we arrived at the door, my dad and Mom were already in the car. I quickly opened the car door and got in. Did you know about Lu Huai's early relationship? Today, during the college entrance exam, the girl broke up with him, and Lu Huai went after her. I shook my head, distancing myself from everything. I didn't need to hear the rest to know exactly what was coming. The events unfolded exactly as they had in my previous life. Lu Huai got into a car accident while chasing after his girlfriend. The only difference was that I chose differently this time. I gently touched my right wrist with my left hand. No scar. Perfect. When I arrived at the hospital, 2 exhausted doctors emerged from the operating room. The patient is temporarily out of life-threatening danger, but due to the prolonged delay, the right eye has completely lost vision. The right arm and right chest are severely burned, and the best course of action moving forward is skin grafting. The right leg joint was compressed for an extended period, resulting in irreversible soft tissue damage. There is a risk of amputation. With active rehabilitation training, it is still possible to walk like a normal person. Perhaps noticing Aunt Lu's pale face, the doctor continued to explain the situation in a comforting tone. Before the doctor could finish speaking, Aunt Lu was already sobbing uncontrollably. Uncle Lu supported her, his own face filled with sorrow. My mother's eyes were also red. It's such a shame that Lu Huai has studied so hard for so many years, only for something like this to happen at this critical moment. My father hugged my mother, patting her shoulder comfortingly. I watched silently as Uncle Lu and Aunt Lu shed tears. Old Lu and I have only this one son in our lives. We've poured all our heart and soul into him. Lu Huai is clearly a good child, both in character and academics, so how could this? Aunt Lu then said with resentment. I've inquired about it. That girl is an art student, her studies are a mess, and her grades don't matter to her at all, but she shouldn't have ruined my son at this critical moment. My mother sighed as she listened to Aunt Lu's words. This girl really is, Aunt Lu, the most important thing right now is Lu Huai's injury. I interrupted my mother before she could continue. It's better to stay out of Lu Huai's family affairs. Looking at Aunt Lu, who was overwhelmed with grief, I felt a bit nauseated. In my previous life, when I first married Lu Huai, Aunt Lu was still very kind to me, even though Lu Huai and I had been married for many years without having children, but I could never forget the day of our wedding anniversary. When I was driven out of the home I shared with Lu Huai and returned to my hometown, I saw Aunt Lu happily holding a 7 or 8-year-old boy who looked very much like Lu Huai. Smiling with joy, the boy held a toy and happily called her and Uncle Lu Grandma, Grandpa. It's still Man who's unlucky, unable to bear a grandson for the Lu family. If it weren't for their wealth and the fact that she's an only child, enough, say less, walls have ears, so they all knew that Lu Huai had cheated and even had a child with Su Feifei, plotting to take over my family's assets. At this moment, Aunt Lu seemed unable to hear anyone else's words, lost in her own thoughts, with hatred in her eyes. She abruptly stood up. My son was ruined because of that girl. At the very least, she should come and apologize. I didn't miss the sinister look in Aunt Lu's eyes. My heart turned cold. A family of selfish people who only feel the pain when the knife is turned on themselves. But my family and Uncle Lu's family have been neighbors for many years, and it's not something my parents can just cut off with a few words. Aunt Lu stood up to go find Su Feifei, but before she could take 2 steps, Lu Huai's shouts came from the hospital room behind her. Feifei. Feifei. I followed behind and walked in. Lu Huai's head, right chest, and right arm were wrapped in bandages, and his right leg was immobilized. He struggled on the bed, his face contorted in pain. Because I didn't follow him this time, Lu Huai remained unconscious in the car for nearly an hour before rescue and the ambulance arrived. The treatment was delayed, and the injuries were more severe. In my previous life, I risked the danger of the fire to pull Lu Huai out, knelt on the roadside begging the onlookers, and rushed him to the nearest hospital. That's why his right eye and leg received the best possible treatment, and there was no subsequent fire or burns. Mom, it hurts so much. Don't move around, son. The doctor said the wound hasn't healed yet, so you mustn't move. Aunt Lu held back her tears as she rushed over. She wanted to hug Lu Huai, but didn't know where to start, so she could only gently stroke his head, her eyes brimming with tears. Mom, it really hurts so much. The effects of the anesthesia gradually wore off. Lu Huai's eyes slowly filled with fear and terror. He cried out in pain. Mom, what's wrong with me? What happened to my eyes? And my chest and right hand? Mom, Lu Huai's voice trembled with fear and tears. Uncle Lu and Aunt Lu held back their tears, unsure of how to respond. Speak, why aren't you saying anything? Why can't I see? Why does it hurt so much? Why can't I move? Lu Huai thrashed wildly, pounding himself with his still intact left hand. Aunt Lu finally couldn't hold back and broke down in tears, overwhelmed with emotion. Even 3 people couldn't restrain him. Aunt Lu hurriedly pressed the nurse call button. Looking at Lu Huai like this, I felt a surge of satisfaction in my heart. The nurse was startled when she saw the frantic Lu Huai and quickly called the doctor, who administered a small dose of sedative. The doctor gave a few instructions and left the room. I slowly walked forward, pretending to be concerned. Lu Huai, listen to the doctor and cooperate with the treatment. Your right leg can still be saved. The burns on your right hand and chest can be healed with skin grafts using current medical technology. As for your right eye, we can fit you with a prosthetic, and you'll be able to live just like a normal person. I stood there, looking down at Lu Huai as the light in his eyes slowly faded away. How could the proud Lu Huai ever accept being a disfigured cripple? My son, Man is right. Mom will find you the best doctors to make you just like you were before. Lu Huai's eyes swept over the people in the hospital room with a dull gaze, and he slowly asked, "Where's Fei? Dad already knows the whole story of this matter. The reason you ended up like this is all." Before Uncle Lu could finish his sentence, Lu Huai interrupted, "It's not Fei's fault. I was in a hurry and drove without permission." Hearing this, I lowered my eyes and sneered. "Is this what favoritism means? Even if you cripple me, you still have to defend her in front of others? It's truly evident whether there is love or not. In my past life, Lu Huai said he would rather die than have any connection with me. Although he didn't get his wish to die, I have fulfilled your wish and no longer have any connection with you." After staying for a while, I took my dad and mom back home. The next day, Lu Huai was exposed by the media for underage driving without a license, and the internet was flooded with insults directed at him and attacks on the Lu family's company. Just like in her previous life, Aunt Lu fell ill due to the stress and anxiety caused by this incident. Uncle Lu had to handle the company matters alone and was overwhelmed. Man, you and Lu Huai grew up together as childhood friends. Your Aunt Lu is too ill to take care of him. Would you like to go with Mom to look after Lu Huai for a while?" "No, Mom, and you're not allowed to go either." I coldly refused, leaving my mother stunned as she looked at me in confusion. I patiently explained, "Mom, I have an important art exam in a month. Have you forgotten? I need to start focusing on my preparation to secure a spot through the recommendation. Besides, if they can't manage, don't they know how to hire a caregiver or a nanny? Why should we, as unrelated neighbors, take on the role of caregivers or nannies? What do the Lu family think of us?" In my past life, there was a similar situation, but at that time, I was also hospitalized due to an injury to my right hand, so my mother took on the responsibility of caring for Lu Huai, busy to the point of being overwhelmed. I've even lost a bit of weight. Lu Huai, because of the damage to his right eye, has been in a bad mood, openly and subtly criticizing my mom. Man is right. Hui Wan, don't worry so much about these things. The Lu family isn't short of money. They can afford to hire a caregiver. My dad fully agreed with me and joined in persuading my mom. You know, Man is about to take her art exams, and it's really tough. You should think about how to help her replenish her nutrition." My dad winked at me from where my mom couldn't see. I immediately understood. "Mom, lately when I practice the piano, I sometimes feel dizzy and my vision blurs. I don't know what's going on. It must be from practicing the piano too hard. Mom will research some nutritious meals to help you recover." I no longer paid attention to Lu Huai and the Lu family matters, focusing entirely on my exam preparations. However, my mom and Aunt Lu still communicated from time to time, so I occasionally heard about Lu Huai. I don't know what Aunt Lu is thinking. Lu Huai ended up like this because of that girl Su Fei, yet she's spending money to have Su Fei come take care of him. My dad picked up the TV remote and casually changed the channel. It's Lu Huai who's desperate to find Su Fei. Do you think old Lu would willingly let the person who harmed his son hang around in front of him? Lu Huai always seemed like such a good kid. How could he be so reckless and unclear-headed now? You, stop worrying so much about other people's business. In a couple of days, Man will be taking her exams. Let's think about how to celebrate her getting into the university she wants. Dad, Mom, after the exams, I want to visit some cities in the Northwest. My exams went very smoothly, and once the guaranteed admission spot was officially confirmed, I've also booked a flight to a city in the Northwest, set to depart in a few days. However, the day after I finished my exams, my mother insisted on taking me to the hospital to pick up Lu Huai upon his discharge. At the entrance of the ward, Aunt Lu pulled my mother aside to settle the medical bills, leaving me with no choice but to push the door open and enter on my own. When Lu Huai saw it was me, his initially cheerful expression instantly fell, and he said with a displeased tone, "What are you doing here?" I hadn't had time to reply when a clear, lovely voice sounded from behind. "It seems I've come at an inconvenient time. Fei, you're here. Lu Huai's eyes sparkled. You've come just in time. I stepped back to put some distance between the two of them and myself. Xia man, it's hot out, go buy Feifei a cup of milk tea. I gave a cold glance at Lu Huai sitting on the bed and didn't move. Su Feifei crossed her arms and said coldly, no need, I didn't come here today to drink milk tea, Lu Huai. I came today to make things clear. Your car accident has nothing to do with me. You got into the accident because of your own poor driving skills, and it happened after I broke up with you. Also, I took care of you because your mother paid me. Now that you can be discharged, we're even. Don't ever threaten me with something as childish as suicide again. I won't compromise just because you're disabled. I saw this expression on Lu Huai's face for the first time, stunned, awkward, self-conscious. And forcing a smile, he stammered, Feifei, I didn't mean to make you take responsibility. But Su Feifei coldly interrupted, enough, Lu Huai, did you think I didn't know you deliberately spread the news about the accident at school? Did you think you could emotionally blackmail me by harming or threatening to kill yourself? Tisk, Su Feifei sneered, you only make me feel disgusted. It was you who insisted on clinging to me. Don't contact me again in the future. We broke up long ago. After saying this, Su Feifei turned to Aunt Lu, who had just returned to the doorway, and said, remember to transfer the remaining money to me, or I'll make sure you regret it. Your son's life is still in my hands. The last sentence was whispered by Su Feifei into Aunt Lu's ear, but my hearing is exceptionally sharp, and I caught every word. Aunt Lu glared resentfully at Su Feifei as she walked away, and a flicker of hatred flashed in her eyes as she looked at me. I was inwardly astonished. What does this have to do with me? Tears streamed from Lu Huai's left eye as he stared at Su Feifei's retreating figure. Man, dear, I've watched you grow up since you were little. I know you're a good child. Now that Lu Huai has ended up like this, I still hope you can help me take care of him in the future. Auntie, I'm even younger than Lu Huai. How could I possibly take care of him? He has hands and feet. He doesn't need my care. I sneered, but unfortunately, I was no longer the Xia man who would eagerly fawn over others. Auntie was just joking with you. I heard you got recommended for admission to the Central Academy of Fine Arts. That's really impressive. I wasn't sure what Auntie Lu meant by bringing this up, so I just smiled slightly. I happened to turn my head and caught the disappointment in Lu Huai's eyes. Lu Huai hasn't fully recovered yet, so he probably won't be able to take the college entrance exam next year. We're planning to have him take a year off to focus on his health before repeating the year. Auntie was thinking, you've always said before that Lu Huai is a year ahead of you, so you couldn't be in the same class. Why not take this opportunity to work harder on your academic subjects and try to get into the same university as Lu Huai? Auntie Lu smiled gently, but I only felt a chill. Wen Jing, that was just man being childish and talking nonsense. How can you take it seriously? My mother patted my back. I forced a polite smile. Lu Huai is very capable too. I believe even if he takes a year off, he can still get into a good university. As for university, I prefer the Central Academy of Fine Arts. Thank you for your concern, Auntie Lu. My mother hastily made up an excuse and hurriedly pulled me away from the hospital, completely forgetting that the purpose of coming to the hospital was to pick Lu Huai up for discharge. Phew, my mother let out a long sigh and said resentfully, the Lu family really has ill intentions. I should have listened to your father and cut off contact with them from now on. I don't know what my father discovered that made him say things to my mother that I wasn't aware of. Thinking back to my past life, my father also strongly opposed my marriage to Lu Huai, but in the end, he reluctantly agreed because he couldn't change my mind. But he didn't easily let Lu Huai take over my family's company. He managed it all himself. At the time, I had to beg him before he was willing to use his connections to help Lu Huai start his business. Thinking of this, my nose tingles with emotion. My dad has always been silently watching over his troublesome daughter from behind the scenes. I asked my homeroom teacher for a long leave, and since she knew about my guaranteed admission, she immediately approved my request. My parents and I went to the northwest to see the desolate Gobi Desert, and later, feeling it wasn't enough, we headed to the plateau for some sightseeing. When we returned home, our family still felt like we hadn't had our fill. How about we go to the seaside in October to catch the tide? My mom suggested. It looks like I'll have to work overtime to get things done. The three of us happily moved the luggage at the door. Man, uncle, auntie, a voice interrupted us. Lu Huai, what are you doing here? I was a bit annoyed. Seeing something that dampens the mood during a happy moment is truly irritating. It's been a long time. My mom invited you, uncle, and auntie to have dinner at our place tonight. It's been a while since we last had a meal together. Lu Huai, wearing long sleeves and sitting in a wheelchair, had a calm gaze, as if he had genuinely come to invite us. My gaze couldn't help but linger on the eye patch over his right eye. Let's call it a day today. We just got back from outside and have a lot of things to unpack, so we really don't have time, my mom said, pushing me into the house. You should head back. My mom had given him the brush off. I just didn't expect Lu Huai to come again the next day. He held the textbook and test papers. Man. You'll also be taking the college entrance exam next year. Let's review together. Lu Huai flashed a warm smile. I just felt disgusted. Sorry, I've been recommended for admission, so I don't need to take the college entrance exam. Lu Huai lowered his head dejectedly and walked away with a lonely figure. Lu Huai is too strange, especially his gaze, which is very much like the Lu Huai from her previous life after they got married. 2 days later, I received an unexpected phone call from Teacher Lee. Man, there's a rumor going around that someone reported to the Central Academy of Fine Arts that you cheated on your guaranteed admission exam, but don't worry, I believe in you, and the other party doesn't have any substantial evidence. As long as it's cleared up, the guaranteed admission spot is still yours. I really don't know which lowlife would do something so disgusting. My heart sank, and I instinctively thought of Lu Huai. I told my dad and mom about this. My dad used some connections to keep this matter from spreading, preventing those with ulterior motives from using public opinion to pressure the school. The Central Academy of Fine Arts also verified that I did not cheat. My guaranteed admission spot was preserved. With nothing else to do, I signed up for a training camp and will be leaving in 3 days. The next day, as my mom was packing my luggage, Aunt Lu suddenly called. She was crying so hard on the other end that she could barely catch her breath. Hurry. Come to the hospital quickly. Lu Huai is thinking of jumping off the building. I always had a bad feeling in my heart. Why would they call us over just because Lu Huai was jumping off a building? The area near the hospital was already completely blocked off, so my mom had to take me there at a jog. Fire trucks and police had arrived, and thick mats had been laid out below the hospital. Lu Huai was sitting on the windowsill of the 15th floor, his feet dangling in the air. That little girl is here. I don't know how I ended up being pushed to the front. Aunt Lu cried and said to me, Man, don't argue with Ah Huai anymore. He's already hurt like this. If he falls again, how am I supposed to live? He's my only son. Hey, young lady, if you're dating someone, do it properly. Don't be so stubborn and cause a tragedy. Yeah, that young man is pitiful enough. I heard he got into a car accident while trying to win back his girlfriend, lost his eyesight, and injured his leg. The onlookers, unaware of the truth, whispered among themselves, casting ambiguous glances at me. What else don't I understand? They want to emotionally manipulate me, push me and Lu Huai together, and scheme for my family's assets. You have no idea what you're talking about here. My daughter and them are just ordinary neighbors. My mother stood in front of a crowd, hands on her hips, roaring angrily, Hui Wan, I know you think we're trying to distance ourselves from you because my son Lu Huai ended up like this, but right now, I just want to save my son. Let's not bring up past grudges. My mother was furious at Aunt Lu's ambiguous words, which misled the onlookers. She pointed at Aunt Lu's nose and said, You, how could you, Mom? I calmly patted her back to soothe her while pulling out my phone to make a call. Once, twice, my palms were sweating. Su Feifei, please answer the phone. Xia Man, this better be important. An impatient female voice came through the phone. I put the call on speaker and said into the phone, Su Feifei, Lu Huai is on the 15th floor of the hospital because his girlfriend is threatening to jump. If you don't want to carry the weight of a life on your conscience for the rest of your life, you'd better get here right now. I looked at Aunt Lu, whose face was stiff, and at Lu Huai, who sat alone on the windowsill. With a half-smile, Aunt Lu tried to snatch my phone, but my mother quickly grabbed her hair. Lu Huai, are you fucking annoying or not? I broke up with you a long time ago. If you want to die, just find a quiet place to jump off a building, drown in a lake, or slit your wrists. Don't use this kind of moral blackmail to threaten me. Su Feifei's angry voice came from the speaker, and the chaotic noise around seemed to quiet down for a moment. Aunt Lu, we're just ordinary neighbors across the hall. Your son jumped because of his girlfriend, and my mother kindly brought me over to try to stop him. You're here accusing me of being Lu Huai's girlfriend, but I can't bear the blame for your son's injury and disability. And, Aunt Lu Huai, don't think I don't know. It was your family who couldn't stand to see mine doing well and reported my grades. I didn't specify what exactly, to avoid unnecessary trouble. Between Lu Huai and me, we both know what I'm talking about. Sure enough, Lu Huai stiffened, turned around, and looked over in disbelief. I gave him a mocking smile. My son, please come down quickly. How am I supposed to live without you? Aunt Lu started wailing again. Lu Huai didn't persist any longer and, with great difficulty, climbed down from the windowsill, and so, the farce came to an end. To avoid being harassed by Lu Huai's family, our family moved overnight, completely cutting off all contact with them. In the blink of an eye, another college entrance exam came to an end. I was invited to perform a piano solo at the graduation ceremony. The stage lights converged, and my flawless performance earned enthusiastic applause. I bowed proudly in gratitude. I caught a glimpse of Lu Huai in the darkness below the stage. Backstage, I was dressed in a magnificent gown, just about to leave. Manon, is that you? Why didn't you come to save me this time? Lu Huai leaned on his crutches, standing in the shadow of the curtain. It seems Lu Huai has also been reborn. Didn't you say you'd rather die than have anything to do with me? I granted your wish, but unfortunately, you didn't get what you wanted. Lu Huai stood there like that, lips pressed together as if shattered. Man, can we go back to how we used to be? Didn't you really like me? I promise I won't get back together with Su Feifei. I hate her to death. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have ended up like this. Listening to Lu Huai's words, I could only feel disgusted and find it laughable, always shifting the blame onto others. Sorry, I don't need a nanny. And I'm not interested in being one either. I'm giving those words right back to you, Lu Huai. Hurry up, man. There's still the next group performance coming. I turned and left without hesitation. I just never expected that this would be the last time I ever saw Lu Huai. Later, I heard from my mom and Aunt Lu's old group of friends that, for some reason, Su Feifei got back together with Lu Huai for money. Those two really are a cursed pair, causing chaos and drama every single day. All of this was what my mom complained to me about over the phone while I was traveling alone across the country. Little did I expect that the next time I heard news of Lu Huai, it would be his tragic demise. Lu Huai died, stabbed to death by Su Feifei's ex-boyfriend at their engagement party. Su Feifei was severely injured and will have to live with an artificial anal fistula for the rest of her life. But what does any of this have to do with me? I followed the new students through the university gates, embarking on my new life. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.